Tonight's joint meeting of the Oregon Town Board and the Road and Traffic Safety Committee will come to order.
Lori Fitzgerald. Carl Walter.
Here.
Arlen Kai.
Here.
Steve Jernigan.
Here.
Kate Laddie. Here. Charles Crawford.
Here.
Corey Henry.
Here.
Okay, that everyone.
Okay, thank you. Let's see who wonders it.
Okay.
Before we jump into roads, we have just a couple town agenda items to cover because we didn't have them tomorrow. It's the Jennifer, it's a packet.
The packet is up to date. Would like me to
Oh,
put
no, I'm sorry, not
Great.
packet, but the voucher staff.
it's by Lori.
Okay. It's her fault.
In your packet, it should be on page, what page does that start on? No, yeah, but I got some more. Treasurer's report
yeah.
and then on 6, 4 starts treasurer's report, 6 starts people. Happy brain stuff. It smells very good.
That's one. You like coffee.
That's,
I like the way coffee smells.
that's good.
Anybody have any concerns about the financial report for the team? Okay, without objection, then the financial report and payment voucher voucher will approve. And let's jump to agenda item 7. And this is the torque hours. I can see where there's something in the back.
Probably. I think it's the very back page, page 48.
Oh, it is, just flip your packet.
It's on down.
We talked about the hours before, and do you want to describe what happened?
No, it just that Sheldon came up with this as a hypothetical. We thought it would be good to have the whole year planned out. And that's what we suggested. With the limited out, every other Saturday for the winter months. Start up again every Saturday, 8:30 to 12, April through July. Oh, we should add August.
Where's August and
Yeah,
September?
August and September, sorry.
Where are those ones?
They're missing.
But where do you want them?
April through September should be that.
Oh,
And then October and November, that's when we thought we should start that extending the hours for the brush drop off.
Mhm.
And then in December, again, it would be on Saturday.
Mhm.
That's just, it's all subject to discussion. It was just an attempt to get it all organized so that we wouldn't be scrambling. In April, just to have it all laid out on the website is kind of like, here's what we're doing. It's up to the board to whatever input or thoughts they have.
So aren't they also expecting a fair amount of brush in the April, May?
Oh, that time, yeah, that's a possibility. This is just, they said we just tried to put our heads together about what would be a, reasonable sort of schedule.
Mhm. Any other questions?
We can certainly,
We can change it.
tweak it.
Right.
Yeah, So you suggest having extended, having, you know, the really big question was about, there were some people who made a strong case, one person in particular, about how it was helpful to have the Torque open later in the day on Saturday, because that gave people time to do all their yard work and load up their brush and get it there. And we used to always be open till 4:30. But when we extended it to 3 o'clock and people got the idea, it seemed to work pretty well, you know, even though we were still closing earlier than we had been in the past.
Is there any problem, especially with the April, May time? With cleanup to extend it to 3 o'clock for those people? for
No,
those 2 months?
um,
So like go January through May, maybe January through May till 3 o'clock?
January, May, no.
I'm sorry, well,
April.
I mean, for. Excuse me, yeah, just go till 3 o'clock in November.
Yeah, it's
For the earlier spring, for the beginning of the spring,
April
all the
through
big cleanup goes, maybe April, May, but
That could be,
Oh, I see.
starting in, maybe starting in March, depending on how fast the snow
I
melts.
mean, I start until May, and we've had weather here, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, get a lot of, let's just go to April to. We can always change it.
Yeah.
April to November, is that what you're suggesting?
April and May, we're saying people are gonna be busy,
Oh,
or then we can go.
have extended hours, April and May.
Yeah.
Yes,
And then do June, July, August, September, the closing at 12.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So April, May, 8:30 to 3
Yeah,
every Saturday.
yeah,
And then what are you saying for June through?
June through September
Till noon,
September, then,
till noon, June through September till noon.
and then October, November, that's
We
dated.
extended for the leaf season. So. And you're right, and I did want to say that, I know that we were always still in the spirit of kind of watching this for one full year. To see how things shake out, and then maybe in July 1st, we might want to revisit.
right, exactly, because that's when we started curbside, right?
And then
Yeah,
we could, if the being open till 3 was a hit.
Yeah.
In April and May, and because there are people that bring grass clippings too.
and then we're gonna
So-
decide too if we're gonna keep the big dumpster.
Yes, yes. So you think you'd do this to just. One thing that's troubled me, which is this, you know, start and stop nature of the open till 3 piece. That, you know, knowing how people are about keeping things straight, that's the only thing I have about it. So if we're gonna use the idea of revisiting everything on July 1. And then going forward, maybe we could extend the extra hours through June. And then have our July 1
sure.
showdown
Well, I think we should be debating this,
regularly.
well, I mean, in June for sure.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and I mean, the guys really are trying to keep track of how busy we are. You just kind of really get a feel for this. And part of our issue has been people not knowing what the hours are. And not knowing, sometimes people would show up in November and not even know that we had been. They hadn't come here that whole time, so they didn't really know what was going on. So that's always been. So. So I guess I'm gonna. How about we propose this revision and leave the, not that we have anything on the table. April, May, June, have the open.
Why leave it out?
Yeah,
That works.
and then not even post anything until July.
Let's wait.
If Jennifer thinks, might have some thoughts on that. So, I don't know, Jennifer, if you're following this tortured discussion here. So we're thinking of, April April, May, June, extending the 3 o'clock closing through June. With the idea that then in June, we'll decide going forward what looks like a reasonable schedule for the rest of the year.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you're approving, you already approved January, February, March.
Yeah.
You're just now going to only approve April, May, and June from
June,
8:30
open
to
till
3
3.
PM. Is there gonna be, did we do that by a motion?
I don't think we do. I don't think it rises
Okay.
to that even tonight.
Okay, so we will
Just post.
eventually post on the website that we're just gonna do April, May, and June every Saturday from 8:30 AM to 3 PM. Okay,
Okay. So that's, any other comments about?
Some of the condition the condition of the roads in the Raven Oaks area being more severe than what we had noted. Did you ever get a report from the people who
That one person that went through, he is also an engineer. I think you know him, Doug Sina. And I was just questioning him, what did you do when you did your whole subdivision? You know, just curious, wanting information, because it said someday we're gonna do Raven Oaks. And he said, let me drive through and see what I think. His opinion was it's too far gone to Seal Cove. But then the other thing that happened is I talked to Abel. And Abel had the person from Farner. No, I don't think that same person works at Farner anymore. He may have moved. And he drove through and said, yes, 2-3 years ago, seal coating, okay, now it's too far gone. So my question is, and this is something you brought up, Arlen, you know, not all the roads are horrible.
right?
You know, we have to come up with some sort of a plan, and it may take years to get it till everything is done. So I don't know who we have come and looks at it to figure out, you know, what. Because, you know, it was Alani Court 2-3 years ago was totally pulverized.
Which one?
Alani Court, that's the one that goes down to the park.
Yeah.
So that was totally repulverized and repaved
Mhm.
2-3 years ago.
Right.
So just saying that we're gonna maybe have to come up with a way to do it in sections.
Okay, well, there's a lot of pieces and parts here on the seal. Well, here. We have option of identifying doing a little more better identifying as to which roads need to be pulverized and do a new overlay on. And possibly plan for that for 25. And continue on with this seal coating. The balance, because we're trying to cover a lot of areas. I don't know. Let's see. Well, we don't have identified with the mileage as to what the pulverizing and overlay is going to, how much. And so I think this is a little bit of a challenge to the road and safety as to identifying how much do we pull that out and continue on with the
Hi, Arlen? Arlen? This is Bob Pulse. Can you hear me? So I apologize for the interruption. I received an email this morning indicating that this meeting was canceled. So I see one other person there from the Road and Traffic Committee. And then I received an email. I was going back to my email at 2 minutes to 5 that had the agenda, like the meeting. So I have wanted to attend this meeting. I'm confused by, I have no idea what's going on. You know, I'm not suggesting, but there's some sort of problem with this and whether the meeting is on.
Bob, can you hear me okay?
I can barely hear you.
You yourself in between, I think you'll be able to do that.
Try muting your speaker for a second, your microphone. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. Better? Okay, so there are actually back-to-back meetings scheduled this week. This one for tonight and then our regular board meeting. Tomorrow night is the one that was canceled. So I think you should be able to find on the town website, if you go to the agenda and minutes section, you'll be able to get the agenda for this meeting, which was more or less the same as what it was a week or so ago, the agenda anyway. We're gonna need to figure out a way to, I can go ahead and interrupt when it's appropriate, a part of the discussion, and then we'll do this type of arrangement for making sure that you can hear us. Does that make sense?
Well, I apologize. I guess I read it wrong, but it's interesting. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So go ahead.
Okay,
Can I ask a quick question though before?
yeah, sure.
The map that you have, that I forgot to pick up today, does that show the different conditions and segments of each
Yes.
road?
Yeah.
That's your part way there.
We're partway there.
Okay,
So if we have a combination, there are some good roads that need to have seal coating so that they stay good roads. And we have a number of them that, especially in the Hobby Horse area, and Raven Oaks need to have seal coating if we're going to save them. Now, if we got some couple that are too far gone, I would suggest with the aggressive work that we're doing, we plan for 2024, that we continue with this, but pull out those that would be needing, identify them and have them scheduled for 2025. Road Safety Committee members
Yeah,
present, do you?
well, enabled, I went through all the subdivisions, but yeah, Raven Oaks has got some bad roads, but it also has some that don't have to be done. So that's the thing. And I think was another subdivision that was bad in there.
What we have right now, Madison Circle and Netherwood have been on the priority list
Right.
for some time. Hobby Horse, see, Purcell Road. In discussion with the Pittsburgh traffic engineer, I would be looking at taking off the 2024 list. Because they're looking, I think they're looking at 25 to 26. And that they would be doing the whole stretch and backfill us. So we need to have the, well, get that coordinated with them as to which it is.
I have a question. With Fitchburg, and we can ask them, is there any way they can make some corrections at the corner of Blizzard and Purcell?
Yes, that we were talking about that too.
Cut
That was
that
one of the,
hill down so people can see.
well,
while
there-
they're at it.
there's two parts of it. There's that big Y or that little
Yes,
that it's a Y thing. And that Y is a hazard. That they would like to get rid of that.
okay.
And then I was bringing to them, we would like to get the hill dropped.
Okay,
So we have some engineering things. That's why I see it's gonna be pushed off. And we're trying to see how much of that we can get them to correct blizzard. The icy down slope.
It might be just, I mean, I drive that way all the time. And it might be helpful just to have more warnings, slippery, slower caution signs might be very, very useful.
It's a short segment of road.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, and if that became strictly a T instead of this sweeping Ys, that is rather blind.
I've been hit there.
You haven't hit
I've been hit there. 2 cars have gone.
2 cars ago.
Yeah. 2 accidents ago.
We
Well, not accident.
we have graphic proof right
Right
there.
there, yeah. Eyewitness.
So there's that, and then they were also offering that because their construction budget is 3 to 4 million a year for road work throughout the city and the country. That they would have a better shot at getting a more competitive bid for the work on Purcell.
Now, Arlen, did you say that they were planning for 2025 or 2026 for that?
Yes,
So somewhere there. Okay.
somewhere in there. We're not sure. It's not 2024.
Okay, so we can take it off on where 20.
I would say we should take Purcell off of our 2024. And then revise how much of Raven Oaks is there. And then we have the unknown thing of what the Murray Road is going to be costing. But that was in a 50-60, I think, Abel had something in the 50-60,000 range.
And you're still in that area, still in that range?
Yes,
Okay.
well, until we get the bid,
Yeah.
we're going on the same figures there.
Okay, and so similarly, we're assuming 30,000 per mile. On anything else in your list. Prior to bids.
Yes.
And that's based on.
Historical debt and not bid. You know, oil prices have stabilized and come down in some, but then next year.
So what about Netherwood and the village? I mean, wasn't there someone there that said they might be willing to work with us
They
on
would-
Netherwood also?
Yes. I sent out. Hopefully I sent the email out to everybody, but yes, Jeff Rao has said they would be working with us. That we have the north half of the road from Cusick, which is the road into the industrial park. All the way up to the Trust for Circuit Development where we have both sides of the road.
Mhm.
And then we again have the north side of the road there until the guy who sells all the tomatoes and sweet corn.
Mhm.
And where the verbal agreement is that we split or do the pro rata cost, backfill him for the square footage of what is the village's ground. This, of course, needs to be put to writing. So we have we have discussions, phone discussions with Pittsburgh and the village for sharing road. We do not have a paper agreement yet.
Okay, would you assume Netherwood is gonna slide into 2025? Then
No.
Still 2024?
Yeah.
That's the village's plan too?
No, the village is waiting on us.
Oh, they're waiting on us. Okay.
They're waiting, we're the ones that are in the driver's seat for that.
Got it. Okay.
I mean, that has been on the priority list for 2 years now.
Now, is your 1.9 mile on the 2024 list for Netherwood, has that been adjusted for the village's sections? Or is that the entire length? You know?
I believe that's our portion.
This our portion.
1.9? It seems,
It seems a little, doesn't it?
seems.
We can verify that.
Okay.
I mean, all these things need to be,
Oh, sure.
one more
Alpine,
round of verification.
It does seem long to me, but I.
it seems longer, because Alpine. The new road by where the library is to Fish Hatchery. Is, I think it's like 1.4.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so now Maryland said they're gonna.
We have,
Yeah.
this could be the entire length. And then we.
Which would be the good answer.
They'll have to be deducting the portion that the village will be.
Right, 'cause I think all the way to Main Street is about 2 miles from,
Yeah.
so
From where?
from Fish X.
Not 2.5.
I thought it was 2.5.
It's a little further.
It's a little further back here, but I don't.
Okay.
So we don't.
All right, okay. Kate, did you have more questions, comments?
One thing that I think we brought up a little bit at the board meeting, but I don't know whether it was ever brought up to the Road and Safety Committee. That looking at the budget, the amount of money that's in our budget, that's in the budget to spend in 2024 on roads is 100,000,
140.
140, okay, 140.
Plus a
so
little bit
that's
more
that.
for maintenance.
Right, right. So I don't know whether anybody ever looked at a plan for what would we do in staying within that budget, because what we've done all along is we've had a year where there's been maintenance and we've stayed within the budget. And then the other year we borrowed for a big project. So last year, what we borrowed for was Alpine. So I mean, I would like to know what could be done if we stayed within our budget. And the budget's a tough thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's better for discussion. What is the budget that's going to be? That we should be planning on, and I do believe very
100
strongly.
is what we have. If we spend any more, we have to borrow more.
24.
Yes.
Right. And with that, I think if you look at the way the budget has been proposed, it goes all through everything else, and then what's left over supposedly is road. And I think we need to be looking at our priorities on the whole budget, because I do believe that we are going to be needing to be in the 250, 350 range at today's dollars annually to stay with the to keep the highways going. I think we had those discussions.
Jennifer,
Corey,
you
am
want to come
I
in
stand correct?
with the
or-
budget? How do you feel about us borrowing an additional 150,000 this year?
I mean, I think what Arlen, if I understand what you're saying, is you're saying you would like to increase the budget upwards of 200,000 a year for the roads.
No, if we're going to be having something in the 250 to 350 range. So yes,
So-
it could be 100 to 200. Increase is my seat of the pants.
Okay.
Budgeting.
So when you budget, just like your home, if you don't have the extra money, you have to, what are you going to do? You'd have to take from another category in the budget. And at this point, I see there's no way to cut $100,000 anywhere
Without-
else in the budget.
Without borrowing it.
So, right. So there's no place to take it. So if you're gonna do that 200,000, you are going to add that onto the debt every year, and your decision's gonna have to be, is that going to be a yearly debt payment? So that means that everybody in the town is going to be paying a portion of that $100,000 to $200,000 you're taking out, because with the levy limits being the way they are, the only way we can do it is through debt.
I will just point out that in all likelihood, because roads have got a long life. That we wouldn't just, I wouldn't think we would want or need to borrow for just 1 year.
No.
We do a slightly longer term, but I think we're getting ahead of ourselves in the budget talk right now.
I think that has worked well when we do longer years, when we spread it out. Right.
That's
But
what I
if you're going to be doing it, you're gonna be wanting that amount of money every year, you're gonna be borrowing that amount of money every year.
Yep.
So it's going to look, it's going to be, you're gonna run into trouble if you're borrowing $200,000 every year for a span of 7 years. I see that potentially being a problem, because you're gonna
Plus the
just keep
potential-
adding on, you're
Yeah.
gonna keep adding on payments every year for that. And you're never gonna actually kind of,
What We
Right,
are-
Peter, so I
and this
think
is-
it's difficult, it's how you want to look at it.
No, it's difficult, but we also have the one of the primary responsibilities of town governance are the roads. That's one of the primary, listed in the statute, is one of the primary responsibilities of the town, to be providing, maintaining the roads.
I think it's time to have somebody else pipe in because you know how I feel, we know how you feel, you want to spend this large amount of money every year. I understand the importance of the roads, but there's so many other things that are coming up. And I also feel if we're going to be doing this, I think there needs to be a way to inform people and get their opinion because
That's right.
I think little by little, we need to get at it. We're not going to get it at it as quickly as you want. But we know how you feel, we know how I feel.
Well,
Steve, how do you
Yeah,
feel?
we've been trying to.
Yeah.
I have a question, just for a moment, I'm sorry, Kate, are we wanting to discuss tonight? Like a long-term thing, or are we gonna discuss tonight just 2024?
I would like it to just be 2024.
Yes, let's just,
Because,
Okay.
right, you know,
this is a
Okay.
long, this is a long debate.
Okay,
Right.
because talking about what you want in 2024 and beyond, that's gonna be a bigger discussion, like Kate's saying.
Right,
So I think that the decision has to be is that you have 140 for 2024.
right.
So the question is, are you going to work within that budget or are you going to borrow? And I think that is a board decision. I mean, the Road and Traffic Safety Committee are obviously paying taxpayers. So if you borrow more money, they're gonna have to pay more on their property taxes. So I think your decision should really be whether you're borrowing for 2024 will work or not.
right, but correct. I mean, we're really talking about 2024 here, but we don't even know which roads are gonna make the final cut as far as, you know, here, we have our list from, that just went blank on me, but we have the list in
I have
the
it up there
memo.
too.
I can't see it from here.
Okay.
That's okay.
You want
That's
me to
okay.
turn
No,
the screen?
that's okay. I know it's up there. So really my point is we've already chipped away at a couple things on here, you know, Raven Oaks, maybe not as much as that, Purcell, no. And then depending on Netherwood, you know, is that length correct or not? So we're already sort of chipping away, and that I think is what we need to do. And get to, here's a list. Prioritized in some way, maybe, or we try to prioritize it. I think the good thing would be to come from the committee and say, okay, we think this one is the top one to do. And these, whatever it's gonna be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 5 roads. And then see how that compares to the budget, and then see how that looks as far as anything over budget.
Right, and well, then, this is also a projection, and this has not been put up to bid yet. And the numbers will come back. Again. Higher, lower. We're not quite sure.
Dated Raven Oaks, is that the only one we've eliminated?
Well, yeah, if you take Raven off,
And
let's
Purcell.
say,
And Purcell.
wait, if you take Purcell off. And if you take a third, I'm just. A grip, you know, just saying a third of Raven Oaks may need to be. That or 20% or a quarter of it may need to be milled. We'll take a few bucks out of that.
Right.
But an overlay, but the seal coating is still gonna be on most of the roads.
Add an estimated 30,000 per mile.
Yeah.
So we're okay. So, Steve, do you wanna continue on with questions, comments, and then we'll jump over to Lori?
I really have nothing to say right now, is rather than, I think it's hearing from the whole rules committee of what the recommendation is what I need to hear.
Okay, what?
I guess I was starting to get a grip and talking just now about. So doing is picking off what could be very bad for the different field. Understanding correctly. We could really fund the money for the other.
That's all that really spoke.
There's not more, there's not enough off more. It's the nine, so it's not going to anyway. Not looking at it. I guess Reasonable thing would be to try to prioritize this as best we can with the one. See, you know, what do we have to have among those items? What's, you know, maybe come up with a grading system or then. Something, and then after that, there's always that big question mark about the movie. That's where. Which you actually are. So how are we even doing that stuff? For this year. That's how 140.
Yeah, when I go.
140. Yeah.
It's okay, but tonight, that's okay. You don't need to know that. So we need to get to a point where we have 2024. Top of the close we can get with.
What's originally, what could be
And
put
prioritize,
off?
yeah.
I mean, we're starting to do that. Sounds like it's all over.
Well, the thing we should think about too, is we can't trap people. Away from their home. And Raven Oaks, that would be a situation, and I think what we've done in the past is, Framingham. So there was the, west to east side more or less. So that will be something, just a logistics issue, but that comes in, well, I mean, not just logistics, but logistics and also, costs per year. So we may need to split some of these, and maybe it's not a 2-year process, let's say for a big subdivision. Maybe it's all the same year with some gap between the two different jobs. I don't know how that works out as far as costs. But it's that type of thing. So there's an access issue. Aside from just the condition road. General laws.
Well, I have a question. We're talking about Raven Oaks. Has Raven Oaks been submitted as sharing, source funding, sharing? Because I don't remember that coming from our committee. So I think that's something you need to consider. What we, the proposal that was made to DOT was for Judd Road.
Right.
Out of the priorities. Now, I'm not saying that Raven Oaks doesn't need it. I'm not taking that position. But if you can get 70–80% of a road repavement being paid for it. I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer. Now, maybe the board is going to disagree with that, fine. But
No, and I'm not advocating for Raven Oaks. There was an earlier discussion, but thanks for coming in person, by the way. So there was earlier discussion and about the different segments of road being in different condition, and maybe the entire thing doesn't have to
Sure.
be treated
Yeah.
as one whole. I don't, what you're talking about, I don't remember coming from the committee. That could just be me not remembering. So I would defer to the committee on a recommendation or just even.
yeah, well, Judd was submitted, wasn't it?
You're talking about Raven Oaks.
Yeah, I know you're talking about Raven Oaks, but Judd was submitted, right? Judd was submitted. And
Yeah.
we have not heard back yet. And we probably won't until spring. I believe. Yeah, do you know when that?
Last I heard is it could possibly be as late as summer.
Late summer to here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we're lucky, it may be a 26 project, if we're lucky.
And that's what's in your document. It's 26.
Yeah. And let me just say, Corey's here. He did a hell of a job on that, and that's a lot of labor. So just give him a shout out here because he well deserved, yes.
It is impressive, the amount of work
Yes.
that the entire committee did. So I didn't know who was doing exactly what.
He did the
But
drafting.
but
of
what's
that.
come out has been really good information.
So if,
Lori, more. Again. So I'm mostly curious about the revised list for 2024, because that'll tell us what's over 140,000.
here,
Right.
let's just take.
But we don't need, I mean, we've got, well, let me ask you this before you start.
Yeah.
What process can you see happening to get the numbers revised? Is that through your committee again? after you're back in town?
Through the committee and or. Excuse me.
Because I think
So-
that's gonna be more valuable than us. Just trying to speculate
Yeah,
right now.
just trying to speculate, what I mean, to give you some ballpark things,
Mm.
if you do cross off Purcell.
Yep, I know.
Let's say that's well into the future. Even if you say Raven Oaks is, you know, 3/4 of that's going to be seal coated. Or what, and 1/4 may be deferred, I'm just,
Mhm.
and even, and whether it goes 30% or 25% or 40%. That could be cutting out 25,000. The Netherwood, I was just looking at the segments. That are. That are half. um, uh, That are in here, and that very likely you'll be saving 10 to 15,000 in
Mhm.
sharing.
Mhm.
So there's. I was looking at 60,000.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you, but I
Well,
just
me
want to
too.
firm up, because I do think that at the end of the day, we're gonna have a number that's not 300,000. Not for this year, it'll be
Yes.
100, well, no, we're gonna put it this way. We've got 140,000 that we can use without question, right?
That's correct.
So above and beyond that, I don't think it's gonna be another 150,000.
I'd say you're probably gonna be another 100.
It could be, and then we discuss, I mean, that's what we need to decide then is, of the list. That's been tweaked and refined by the committee, what do we have left over? And then the board needs to decide, do we push it? Or do we try to finance it, or some other way? But we're not gonna know any of that tonight, I'm afraid, because we just need to get the list
Okay,
a little bit tighter.
okay, with the logistics of this, we've got, we're now. Going to have all that pavement covered up with snow,
Well, that's true. Right.
for a while, so having a good.
Well,
View of what the condition of how much of Raven Oaks is going to be deferred.
right. It may not be, it may be while you're gone too,
Yeah.
that everything's gonna melt at some point. You're not on the roads, right? At some point, maybe
Some
in
point.
July,
Other than July, sooner than July, yeah.
yeah.
Come up with this. I mean, we know that it's way over our budget. And could we come up with, and I know it's not gonna be tonight, just 1, 2, 3, 4, this is what we could get with what's in our budget.
Mhm.
And then we would know. Because the other thing is, we can't even go very far ahead with Marie Road, so we can just take a step towards it, but it's not gonna be the final. And plus, we haven't really said, do we want to borrow more? Because there's so many other things. I mean, the fire department is gonna be, we'll be borrowing money for that again. So there's so many things.
There's so many things and that.
And I know roads are important, the fire department is important, all these things are, so it's like, how do we just figure out the best way to budget for our residents? So right now, tonight, why don't we just say, well, here are 3 or 4 we can do for sure, and then we'll tweak it as we know more information.
Well,
So Arlen, was 2021 when Madsen was done?
Pardon?
2021 was when Madsen was done. And then the rest of the roads were the pavement. So we're seal coating because they were repaved. So if we went by length of time, Madsen was done in 2021. That's what I have on my sheet. And then Netherwood would have been 2020. Is that? Other sections of that done in 2020? Would you look
I
at?
don't know that, I don't
Would
know.
you look at going by, I'm asking if you're going to look by going by date.
do you know what was done in those years, Jen? Or was it?
No,
I'm looking at our DOT Whistler information. This is from 21 though, so I'd have to look at an updated one.
well, Madsen
I'm
said-
wondering if you would be able to prioritize them by year in which they were last completed. Would you
Okay.
do the oldest first or the newest first?
Okay, or the worst condition.
first.
because they're dry. That's what Abel said. The roads are dry. So he would like to do to add some, so, or did one, it doesn't not matter by the age, is it just the condition? Some road gets more sun than other, or more shade than others.
The ones on a mountain.
But
Sure.
as a committee, I think our focus has been condition, not to the exclusion of other factors, but we did a tour. We've had discussion, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just telling you where our focus has been.
Now,
At this point, I'm not saying anything is right or wrong, you know.
Yeah.
So how would you start to prioritize this list? Like, is Netherwood worse than, how do you do 1, 2, 3? I'm thinking that's what you're getting at, right? You want a 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4. So you'd start with Netherwood, go to Madison and.
No, I'm saying, well, I'm not sure that I know tonight, because I feel like I would like to know.
If they went and looked at the roads, would they know? Could they give us a
Is
one,
it
there's
ranked in that way?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 roads on here, or 7.
if you want to,
Can we go 1 through 7? I think that's what they were looking at trying to
Arlen,
do.
I think we should get together to do what she's talking about.
yeah,
Good
I
idea.
think we need the entire committee, the roads
Yeah.
committee, which is not here. To do that, but let me suggest something else. I mean, to me, one of the factors is the amount of traffic. And this is not documented by data that's on roads. It's contributing to condition. But also speed limits. I mean, I know Raven Oaks is in need of remediation of their roads, but if generally, there's a difference between Raven Oaks and like a road like Glenway,
Mhm.
which is not recommended for, people are going 70 down. So that has to be taken into consideration, is all I'm saying.
I totally agree, and I live in Raven Oaks, and I'm not
I know you do.
saying it
Yeah.
because I want it, because I live there. I'm saying it because I ride my bike and I walk there all the time. And I also know it's not traveled very often, and I would be perfectly comfortable if you said, let's not do anything with Raven Oaks. There's some roads that are really bad. These other ones are more important.
Yeah,
And I'm hoping you guys could come up with that idea for us.
listen, I've lived in the town for 30 years. And I am just so glad that we have a town board that is addressing roads. Because they've been neglected, and the state of the roads is a reflection of, to me, of what has not happened. I almost said happened, not happened historically with roads, the neglect of them. So I think we find ourselves at a point where this board is rightfully addressing this issue. And the state statute says that roads are mandatory spending. Towns have discretionary spending and mandatory. The state statute says this is mandatory. And even with that, there are limits. So there's really so many priorities, I think, and so many factors. So, and I ride a bike as well.
I know.
So, that's one of the things, but we have roads that even riding in your vehicle, you have to greatly reduce speed because it's just not safe. So,
But I think we're on the right target. Take this list as our group, we get back together and I think
Yeah.
we should say back for the board, this is the order we think of, and this is what we need now. Anything after that, that's where we need more money if it's approved. But
Right.
I think you're right, start with that list and see what we can narrow it down to.
if you're, just for your own education, little map that we did here, the colored map. If you're looking at the green, they're new, they're great. But we got it, but some of them may need seal coating just to keep them great. The yellow are the ones that are saying, we need attention to it.
Can I answer this 2024, proposed 2024 map?
This is the,
Or your
this is,
entire map.
no, this is the condition. This is the Pazer rating of what they are
As of today.
as of August of July of 2023. The pink is one that it's starting to approach gravel. Or it's getting to that with that Pazer rating of one is gravel. So more than a little bit of work in there. Madsen Circle is in that 1 to 3 Pazer rating. So whatever they did in 20, I don't know what it was they did, but it didn't do a good job. The Madsen Circle does not have much traffic.
Right.
Neverwood is in that 4 to 6 range and has a lot of traffic.
Right, right. So we understand all that and we appreciate
Mhm.
all the work you've done. And it's been a lot of work, all of you. And now that we've met tonight and you know what's in the budget and whether or not we're gonna borrow, I would appreciate it. If you
Yeah,
had
right.
another meeting and,
That's what we should do.
yeah,
It's really just fine tuning, I think. It's
Yeah.
just- You have most of the work, unless you factor in the traffic.
Okay,
like Bob, you said, there's so many variables in what makes a road the next priority.
It gets a little subjective.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's get down to some logistics things here. If we're going to be sending this back, state committee, here's the priority list that has to happen here. I'm gone for a month.
Right.
So if it behoove the committee, doesn't have to have me on there, but if that was the directive to you, would you be up for meeting in January or to mid-February? Want to wait till mid-February to come up with this priority list?
Are you back in mid-February?
Mid-February, well, I'd be back the 16th of February,
Oh, okay, so February.
15th, 16th.
Anybody else, do you feel that this has to happen
No,
in
no.
January? No, I think we're fine. So I
if we-
think a full committee,
Yeah.
I think a full committee, I would like you to all be involved.
Okay.
Okay? So somewhere
Yeah.
in that week of the. Come on, calendar, get up here. That week of the 19th,
Well, you don't have everybody here, right?
we don't have
We're
everybody
missing a couple
here.
of- I'm gonna let you schedule
Okay,
at your leisure.
we will pass out a message to everybody as to what would be a good time for the Road and Safety Committee on that week of. Or after the last 2 weeks of February.
Can I ask too, as far as things that you might put together in this, and there was discussion earlier about, Able had somebody take a look at roads and, JT Engineering took a look at roads. Do you want or need to factor any of that into
Well,
your
there was-
committee? I don't know what they, I don't know exactly what they came up with. It could have just been, discussed.
If it's hearsay, I'd say it's not going to be. As if there's something that's documented that says this has it there, that would be. Very
Harlan, I
helpful.
would say
I
a
think-
lot of the things that Abel does would be hearsay because he rides along with them.
Yeah.
They're not typically putting something down on paper, but I know Abel has talked to quite a few people, so I think as long as you schedule the meeting with Abel.
Well,
He'll have to talk
he
to-
becomes the source.
Yeah.
Like,
I
if
think you
he's-
could- I think you could
Well-
reach out to the other people that are involved, if you feel you need to, and I do not have any.
Okay,
Any strong opinion one way or the other, but if you feel that you need other sources to help out, then I think they're available and they probably. be
If there is
directly
anything
to
in
you.
right, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
If there is anything in writing, to me,
that would be-
if I can read it, I just absorb it a lot better, and
Perhaps you could ask
Or-
Abel
or-
to, Abel could contact some people and he could contact Doug Sina as well. And maybe
Cory, I
Abel
wanted
could
to ask you too,
just
because
write up a memo.
Yeah, I mean, you have engineers that are on our committee and I totally respect that. And I didn't step on anybody's toes when I asked Doug. I just asked him for other information and he came. I mean, would it be worthwhile as we're getting more and more concerned about roads to have an engineer evaluate everything?
But then we have to pay for it.
You're right. I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Cory?
I know the Pacer ratings are definitely subjective,
Right.
I will say. obviously I'm a little biased in the fact that I think that if we were to pay someone that has an engineering background and an engineering degree, it might be a slightly less subjective, but it's still gonna be subjective depending on
Right.
who's looking at it and what they view to be what level of deterioration.
I think we have two very competent civil engineers on the committee, and I think,
Terrific.
we can rely real heavily on that. I don't, that's personal. From watching work, I don't think we need to ask right now for
Right,
outside
right.
help.
And I'm really just leaving it at your discretion.
Yeah.
As to whether you reach out to them or not.
Mike,
Because I'm with you on, I rely on the committee and everybody on the committee, and I think it's done a great job so far. But these are other sources that are available and we can make the connections if we need to.
And again, the only reason I brought it up is that the original plan was to seal coat all of Raven Oaks. And that bothers me a little bit when that indeed was not the best recommendation.
well, it's partially,
Right.
at the time,
I mean, I'm happy.
we were
with
looking at
what's
not
going
just the roads that need to be done, but what was the best way to organize what needed to be
Right.
done. And the point with Raven Oaks was, well, if we're there, let's do the whole thing. That was part of the thought process.
Okay,
But now, as we look back at it, we can say, well, wait a minute, we didn't really have to do all of Raven Oaks.
Right.
That's the difference, I
okay,
think.
okay. So I don't know whether there's any others.
And having come in late to the meeting, the recommendation that you're talking about for Raven Oaks came from what source?
Doug Cena. Now, he's a person that helped with the original grants that were the BIL grants. And he is part of JT. And I think he specializes in roads because he approached us when saying you could maybe get money for these roads.
He lives in Hampton Hills.
And he also, he did Murray Road. He came up with the suggestions, what should be done to Murray Road.
Okay, so did he put this in writing?
No, no.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not what I was asking for. But when he
Right,
drove through, he
yeah.
thought, oh my God, don't do chip sealing the whole.
If-
And it
if-
was just, I was just a messenger.
Mhm.
Gathering, doing my due diligence as a
Yeah.
board member.
well, I guess the advantage with the way I see it with our two engineers on the committee, that their view is more comprehensive, like the entire town, because we've reviewed as much as we can the entire town, and we put at least some of this in writing, so I'm sure the gentleman you're talking about is a very competent person with this. I'm not disparaging that, but I don't know.
let's not forget, we have boots on the ground with the head of our public works in Abel,
Yes,
that he is, he's an asset.
He has a very good feel for it.
He's got a
I'll
very good
second
feel
that.
for this as
Yeah.
well, in helping the
Yeah.
priorities.
He's out on the roads all the
Okay,
time.
I still, okay. If I'm sensing a plan of attack is to, by the end of, in the last 2 weeks of February, that we gather together to make a recommendation. The logistics of that means that it's the March
So you have a couple.
meeting, the 12th. Is the next board meeting following that be taking action.
Mhm.
We have targeted in the past to be having the end of February is when we're actually putting things out to bid. So that we are getting our best bids before the road season starts.
I would say
That's fine.
that would be a very, we've not done that in the past. We've
I
tried to
know.
do that
I know,
for Alpine because we knew we were doing Alpine, but we haven't typically done that in years past.
I know.
That would be very early, very, very early.
we're going to. We are going to be bidding during the competitive season. And not be waiting till summer to.
Right. But I think March would be okay. I mean, ultimately, it will have to be okay.
Corey, thought?
On March versus summer, or
Yeah, month of March versus.
Month of March for bidding.
it's definitely better than summer.
Right.
On the
February?
state side of things, typically, we actually get better bids in the fall. In the November timeframe.
For the
November
following.
For the following year. Is generally when we see the best.
Something
bids
else
come
we're looking
through,
forward to.
and the most competition.
I think we do what we can do.
Right now, it seems that that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, so I think the committee, if you do your revisions to the priorities. So here's, and I would just take that 2024 block. Revise that, maybe a couple notes if you change your methodology or change your analysis. Don't pull any like 2025 into there, you know, we're not going for that. So I think that's it. And then, whatever you present. I can't guarantee that we would vote on it, but we sure would want to, I think, at least. I don't know that it would, I don't know if it would be voted on as written.
In the past, what has happened, you can always go to bid. And then you can find out what the bids come, and then you can approve what bids are within your budget.
Okay.
You typically don't want to have people bidding projects that you're not ready to approve. So we'd want to be a little conservative because that's gonna make some people upset if we don't have the money and we're just asking them to bid.
And I wasn't suggesting that, it's just for our own. Going to-
Have to take everything we bid either, so we can
That's
do.
right.
Okay, that's very true.
can-
And I don't have any other questions. But I think we've hit. Do you have anything else? that you
Yes,
wanna add?
I do. Something, a reality check.
Yep.
In talking with Fitchburg, they have an annual budget of about 3 to 4 million in road work
Mm,
every year.
mm, mm.
That's their budget range that they feel committed to. They have about 10 times the mileage that we have.
Right.
I say, this is reality check. So why aren't we budgeting? We should be, if we're equivalent to that, and they have bad roads in Pittsburgh too.
Right.
That we are looking at 300 to 400.
Right.
If we're in a parallel comparable
Right.
thing, we don't have curbs and gutters. So that's in there, so by looking at that, our responsibility, reality check.
Right.
Is going to be in that 250 to 350 range.
I think you're
Annual.
not, I think you're forgetting that statutorily towns are different than cities and villages, and that's a whole thing to do with financing. And we just don't have that type of resource that cities have.
We don't.
No, and
No.
and that's the reason that we can't fund that budget that's of that big or that size of the nature.
We have
And
important.
we don't have as many like businesses and things like that that can help us. So I'm not sure you're gonna find a township that's not something really big, like maybe in the Appleton area, where you're gonna have a township that can support a road budget that's.
Okay, yeah, I think when we look at this into the future, the committee's gonna be. Again, looking at what is it that's going to be. Possible,
And I think you'll get a feel from that,
Yeah.
For that from budget discussions. And that's where this conversation, I think, needs to go.
Right.
But although ahead of time, I think we can be thinking about this because there are other, you know, there are like a finite, small number, a finite number of ways for us to
Right.
fund anything. Doesn't have to be financing only, but do we do a referendum? Do we
that's
do
correct,
something like
that's
that?
correct.
I don't
It
trust
could be
grants so much.
So this stuff we're not gonna do this year for
Budget.
2024, so why don't we just move on? We
I
have
think
our
we would-
plan.
Well, I think we would do it in 2024 to start discussion about it for the end of 2024.
Yes.
when
A
we're budgeting.
referendum in 2024.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That is not what that's not what I meant. I meant discussions leading up to the budget.
Okay, we
time.
can do that, but we don't need to.
2025. That's
No,
correct.
no.
Okay, so let's
So
move
that's what I'm
on to
saying.
the,
That's what I'm saying. Absolutely what I'm saying is that I think we can wrap up
right.
the item number 4 on budget, on road work.
Okay, does the road committee feel they've received a charge? We haven't.
I think so.
Well,
Corey, you agree?
Yeah, I think I just understand what we need to
Sure.
do. Or looking towards.
I'm not sure what they're asking.
Prioritizing.
Board's asking us to be reviewing this and set the priorities. To see what how,
We can pare it down to something that's affordable within the 140 and then see what else we need.
Right, exactly.
What else? You have to go there and it'd be, I'd be looking at, some projection future wise too, as to how far we can go, because we
I'm not saying if you can do that at some point, it doesn't have to be for March. But if you review 2025, 2026, then yeah, then for sure we want to see that. But it doesn't have to be, if our goal right now is to tackle the 2024 list of priority list. A little better handle on cost if possible, a little bit better handle on length and what the condition of roads is, then we're good. We're good.
I'd like to add a little factor into that, is that maybe if this committee also knew that when we have loans that come due, that's when we would want to do, say, you want to top load and you want to be really heavy in a year that we have a loan that we paid off. And that's a year you might want to set aside to say, hey, we're going to do a bunch of road work
Yeah.
this year. And I have those and I've given them to you, but I don't think that's been shared necessarily with them. Where your road work, I think what Arlen wants to do is he wants to get to the steady level. And what's really difficult is you're gonna have some really big years and then you're gonna have some small years, not big, small. Because that's what we have for loans right now.
I have to go,
Okay,
but this is good.
Thanks, Chuck.
thank
And
you.
whatever date you set, we'll work out.
Okay, we will, you expect an email this week as to us picking a date for a meeting the last 2 weeks in February.
Just, if I can digress for just a second here. Just me, I don't see the committee's role or my role in the committee as determining budget. I'm cognizant of the fact that there is a budget and there's limitations to the budget. And the board has got to get reelected. So, that's all real, but as far as being on road and traffic safety, to me, I'll go along with the group, but I just want to make recommendations on priorities for the road and let the town board sort out how it's going to be funded, when it's going to be funded.
Right, we just need the cost. We just need the estimate of cost.
Yeah,
That's all. we
Yeah.
need. And then we'll work on priorities based on whatever, could be alphabetical.
yeah, I think we're a total,
Yeah, I'm not expecting the committee
yeah,
to.
But I don't
the
think we
Budget
should-
analysis.
yeah. Well, okay, good.
Yeah, we didn't want to spin it that way.
I think there is gonna be some.
You could start to look at some years, when you make that list, you could look at some years where I can tell you, hey, this year would be when we're gonna be taking on a loan, and you guys could start to prioritize to say, hey, we could add a few more into that year.
Would be most helpful.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I think. So I think that the group wouldn't have to really worry about the exact numbers, just maybe a year where you could do a bigger road project. Like, we're gonna take on repaving this road this year, or we're gonna do a really, we're gonna get caught up on seal coating this year. It's not this year, unfortunately, that we have a loan coming due.
Right.
So that's the problem. 2024 is not a year we have a loan.
Or you were thinking great thoughts.
I understand the task in front of us for sure. When we set out with the priorities, we didn't have a number, so that's kind of
Right,
how we ended up at,
that's what I figured.
yeah.
So just, I'm gonna throw this out here, just because I brought it with, and this is based on this year's levy. And how the mill rate shakes out and everything like that. If we did, if we financed let's use $150,000. Here comes, if we financed $150,000. And took it over 3 years, let's say, so that'd be a levy increase of 50,000. The mill rate would barely go up, the amount of tax that anyone would pay per $100,000 would be about $20 per year. So we're talking big numbers as far as like, oh, that's a big loan to take, but is it, depending on the term we use, depending on how that works, each individual taxpayer or home, it's not a huge, it's just not a huge.
Well, except that multiply that by 4 or 5.
No, I know.
And we're
that's-
talking
and it's still
about
not a
something
huge
that
number.
we don't need to talk about tonight.
No, I know, but I just want to throw it out.
Because
Just
then we
looking
can
at me
bring
like
up the
this, yeah.
fire department,
Yeah.
because then we borrow that, and
That's
then
true.
there's $30 for that, and then there's
But
that.
that
It's a big-
applies to,
There's a big picture.
right, but
that-
this applies to everything, is that we're not
Right.
jacking up everybody's property taxes by $5,000.
But you may have to some year,
Some year.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carl, I gladly pay the money. But my tax, my property tax for better roads, I mean, I think you make an excellent point, so
Yeah, I think.
I'm with you.
Okay, let's move on to item number 5. And it is future road projects and grants. Oh, thank you. And is there someone,
So in your packet, there was just the approval of, Tipperary Road for 2025. That's the LRP, and that's that $17,000 grant. So
Very modest, but it's there.
it's there. You can move that amount of money once. So I would have to go back to your list. That was on what, page 4? No, page 10. So Tipperary is not on your list.
somewhere? Maybe. Number 28,
Oh, 28, 2028.
2028.
Okay, so you would be moving Tipperary to 2025.
Well, that's a pulverize. You see, that's not a small number.
Right, that's what he applied for.
Pardon?
That's what Abel applied for.
Yeah, it was. I believe he also said that it could be moved.
It can be moved one time. And there's a form and there's an approval process to move it, but you can move it one time. I think 2025 is a year that we might need to take out a loan. So that would be, so you know, there's a little bit of a decision that I guess the board would have to decide is, are they going to want to do a big project where they're going to take out a loan in 2025? And would that be Tipperary? And so would the board, would the committee be supporting moving Tipperary up to that year of 2025, or are they going to support? I think that's a little bit there where I'm a little confused because this list wasn't matching up to what we were applying for that grant, but you can move it one time. It has to be approved, though.
So we would still need to pay 340,000.
You're only going to get 17 from
Yeah,
Elroy.
okay, well. And when you say move, you mean move to a different road?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Yeah.
And at what point, do you know, it's already been awarded?
It's been awarded for the year 2025.
So, okay, so that'd be.
So it's next year project.
Okay. Anything else under that agenda item?
You have the. Under that agenda item, the future. It's kind of open here. Okay, that's into the grants. We're actually
it's-
talking 5.
There's this transportation program that I was sent, and so I included it in the packet for tonight. I did not look into it myself, so.
We don't have any pending.
No, this would be something that I think the committee could talk about if there's a road that would
Yes.
qualify. There's maps on here that tell you what roads qualify.
Is that 2-colored map that doesn't tell us which roads they are?
I don't know.
I believe that for the STP local, it would be almost all of the town roads. The only exception would be, I believe, if any of the town roads are also found within the Madison MPO. I don't believe that those then would qualify for the local funding. Don't quote me on that, though.
Okay,
It's
well,
just me trying to remember off the top of my head.
that'd be something to have on our.
I think we can
Agenda.
definitely look into that when we meet. here in
And so that application deadline's April 5th.
Can I ask, this is related, a little indirectly, I guess, but some municipalities have grants committees. too, you know, because it's a different,
Yeah,
it's a different mindset than some of the other committees, so I don't know if that makes sense for us to pursue or not, I mean, for sure with, I mean, there are plenty of grants available and it's very time consuming. But that's something at least think about at the board level, maybe discuss that in a meeting or two.
right now, I think it's up to us to be trying to focus and find the road and the parks, find the things for parks
Or whoever, right, okay. I mean, it's not, it doesn't exist now, so I can't say, oh, the grants committee will take that, but it's just something that I've run across a couple times.
you know, and they have a whole bureaucracy in
Mhm.
larger
Absolutely.
municipalities.
Anything else for agenda item number 5 and 6 is gonna be very similar.
Well, here you have,
Needs rather than
if you have
existing
the
projects.
future road projects, you have the Bellbrook Bridge
Mhm.
in here.
Yep.
Which we're waiting for the 2024 inspection to see if it is going to hit the target.
2024, I believe it was the.
That
structural
when the inspection is going to be
assessment.
coming.
So they inspected it in the fall. And it stayed the same. The rating stayed the same, but there will be a structural inventory and appraisal that's due this year. And that may drop it down or make it eligible for the local bridge program.
Okay.
Which then would be 80%, at least 80%, 80-20 split.
And is that what Steve was suggesting in his email?
Yes,
More or
basically
less.
it's holding off on
Mhm.
anything on that until it falls into the local bridge program so that it can be submitted for federal cost share.
Right.
And that's where. That's where the BIL funding, if it's still around and it's still there, that one could be eligible for the 100% funding. Because it's an off-system bridge. If that does come back around again.
And will the committee sort of keep an eye on that? Is that the plan?
Yes.
Okay,
I talked to the engineer who did the latest evaluation. His name is
it's a long name.
Buckingham.
Yeah.
I was confused by his report, not, I have no experience with engineering, so I gave him a call, he returned my call, I had a nice long discussion with him. And I would say if people want to talk to him, you know, he's very open to that sort of thing. He volunteered some information, I probably wasn't asking the right questions, but he does, the report seems to indicate that the bridge is okay right now, but it says he recommends replacing it. So I had,
That's fine.
yeah, so it's like a contradiction almost with the report, and that's what I wanted to talk to him about. And he didn't come right out and say it, but I think every time his company does one of these reports, that they recommend replacement as a liability issue for them. That, you know, so they're not in line when the lawyers get.
So they're throwing it back onto the town to be liable.
Yeah, so it's an interesting report. I think generally it's inconclusive.
Okay. Okay, so we know the bridge, we know Marie. The culverts and that whole mess.
And Judd,
Those.
and Judd Road application is out there and end of summer. Maybe, but even if we get it, it would be a couple of years out beyond that.
Okay. So really the pressing issue, the pressing issue is Marie. Right, since the bridge we don't know about
Yes.
yet, and Judd Road, we don't have anything in the immediate future.
No.
Okay,
I have something under 6, if you're done with that.
I think we are. Anybody else on item 5?
Have we, on the Marie Road culvert, given the cost of that, have we looked at there is an option with the county to do, I believe they call it county bridge aid for larger culverts, that they'll split the cost on that. I believe Dane County requires that a drainage report would be done to size the culvert on it. So that's something that we would need to pay to have someone do. But then they would split the cost on that. I don't remember what it is, but I thought that it was a 50-50 split.
Is that, you're referring to Bellbrook?
No, Marie.
Marie, okay.
That would be news to me if we had
Yeah.
done that.
I think that, I think that, Doug Cena actually did say he didn't think that was worth it.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I mean, I would have to go back to the email, but we talked about it and he was just like. So,
Yeah.
so not that we can still look into it. I just know I had a conversation about that with him, or he talked to me about that.
yeah, my thought was just that if it's, if it's that 50 to 60 number that they're talking,
Is
if
this,
the split is 50-50 and. a
when do we
drainage
have
study
to
is-
apply for this? Yesterday?
I think he thought that is there a certain volume or some kind of, that he didn't think it would qualify? Is there like a qualifying factor in it,
For the runoff?
something of that nature?
For the bridge aid, for the
Yeah.
county bridge aid,
Yeah.
it's, I believe they do it based off of culvert size. So depending on what the size of that culvert is.
Okay,
I don't think there's a technical bridge there, is there? It's just a,
No, but the
it's an
county,
embankment kind of.
yeah, so the county bridge aid, it's just called county bridge aid, but it's, I believe, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but it's like any. Even culverts that are over, say, like 36 inches in size
Okay,
can be submitted and they'll do a cost share on that.
okay, that's good to know.
And how do
I'm
you-
not positive on the size of it. I'd have to look back.
Do you think that's an able thing, Jennifer? Or
what's that?
to initiate that review, I guess.
I'm reading Doug Cena's email. He said, it's between $4,000 and $6,000. Depending on what survey data we would have to gather. A drainage basin analysis.
Yeah,
Okay,
hydraulic analysis. So it's basically sizing the culvert for the.
I am not familiar with the terminology at all, so I don't know if this is the right. If you're not experienced in water issues, you would need to have this. He basically, at the end of all of this, he did not think that necessarily would justify that $4,000 to $6,000, but that was his, that the group, I can forward this email. I'm sure I gave it to you, Arlen, but let me just forward it to Corey and, right
Okay,
now.
so if we,
And then you guys can talk about it at your next meeting.
okay, and get able with it. Now, I guess I'm still confused in the logistics here. Is this something that we can do this year, or do we have to gimp along for a year or two?
I think it could be done this year even. Yeah, we need to reach out to. Brian Rice at the county would be the one to reach out to on it. He's in the engineering department. He would be able to give us an answer for sure on it, on what would need to be done and. What the timeline for it would be.
Okay, so is this something I can lean on you to ask him?
If you want me to, I'm working with him on other projects, so I
I
can
think that
definitely
would
reach out
be-
to him on it.
I think that would be very prudent to do.
That'd be great if you could.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I can do that.
We have no connection to that department as far as I know.
We worked with Brian Rice before.
Have we?
Yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah.
How about in the last 6 months? Mine.
I talked to Brian Rice in the last 6 months.
No, that's okay. All right, all right, moving on to number 6, is the future road and traffic safety needs. So any, not existing projects, but anything that, is sort of top of the list.
Okay, top of the list was that 2024 was gonna be looking at safety. And we have a couple of intersections that have been identified that are not on our dangerous list. And Bob, you have
Yeah, we've had a couple of accidents close to where I live, Glenway and Highway A. The latest one, and maybe some of you know more about this than I do, but I was coming back from Dog Park. And I went down Locust and was gonna turn left on Glenway, and there was a sheriff's deputy that turned me around. And when I went back to Bellbrook on Union, they had Glenway closed. And talked to a neighbor who said there was an accident with what appeared to be serious injuries. I don't know what happened to the people, but I can tell you this, if you're traveling north on Glenway and you get to there's a tree not that far off.
Terrible,
Yeah,
it's terrible
and it's worse.
if you're going north.
Yeah. And so, and this is, I refer back, this is the type of thing that's been prevalent in this town. It has not been addressed for a long time. So this board didn't create it. I think part of that tree is in the right of way, but not the whole tree. And I'm not your legal counsel. I don't pretend to be, but I do read statutes, and the statute says that the town has the authority. I wouldn't suggest that the town just do this without approaching the landowner, but the town has the authority to clean out anything in that right of way, and even enter private land. And there is a site obstruction there that when you look west up Highway A and you're at that intersection, it's limited sight and you have to creep and you have to creep, and pretty soon you're almost in the intersection. I don't know if that was a factor,
But
and that's, I'm not saying.
Coming, going west, is gonna turn left on Glenway. And you have to creep up in order to get across. And I don't know why there aren't more accidents there, because Glenway is like a major, as we know, racetrack. But people do that all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, keep that idea about racetrack because I want to talk about that. And then when. So anyway, that's going to be part of our, you're hitting some of the agenda items that I see as being our 2024. Yeah. Several 2024. Yeah, we're going to address this next one. Yeah. In 24, but it's like a personal pet project of mine. I've been talking about this. I found a study on pavement markings. And I was told for years in this town, you couldn't do them, that the roads wouldn't support them. And I went to this forum up in Verona before our committee started and talked to that engineer, and he told me that's bunk. There's no reason you can't do it. And if you take a look on Purcell Road now, the town of Verona has done a center line down that road, which is problematic. So to me, and I'll send you all the study. I'm just asking you to start to think about it. To me, this is a way to improve safety at a low cost. There'll be some cost. But, and I'm also thinking starting with just the major roads like Glenway, Lincoln, Netherwood, where, a lot of these roads, Lincoln and Nether Road, you go from one jurisdiction to the other. And they have a yellow line and we don't. And there's no reason for that. But the study says that it improves traffic safety by 30%. Yep. And the reason it does that, I've read this about 3 times. So even a person is not an engineer like me can grasp, but eventually,
you get, when there's a center line, you're not even thinking about it, but you're getting visual clues all the time. You look, even if you're distracted, you look, there's the center line. And you move over. And in our township, I think when you move over to the side, you're going to slow down. Because you're worried about going off the road in some places. So I just want, I would respectfully ask that we think about it. I think I have some support on our road traffic safety committee for this now. There was some resistance, so we haven't taken a vote. But I'm just asking you to think about it. I think it's a low cost way on some of these major speedways to improve our safety.
And be seeing what some of our neighbors are doing. I believe the town of Verona has been putting, the town of Verona has been painting
They have
the center lines.
Oh, they definitely have. Sunset has a nice stretch that they did this last year and with lines and.
Someone that drives Netherwood all the time,
With the pale light
I
road.
mean, daily and nightly, Netherwood is
Sunset Road.
Between, sorry.
Netherwood at night. Is a bad road to drive on. There's times you can't see in front of you. You get there's with the weather can be clear. Unless the sky is totally clear, there's moon. There's times you can't see the road. There's something I've always I advocated for this a number of years ago with a former board supervisor that something has to be done with roads like that. That's a dangerous road at night, as you know, especially we have an older community. As we get older, as I get older, it's hard to see. And
Yeah.
so, and I have been told the same thing, that lines are will actually cause more danger. I said, no. And I saw that same, I think we talked
Yeah.
once about the same study, that they're actually safer to have something on there.
This study is on the town board website now.
Yeah.
So
I saw that.
to me, it's an endorsement
Mhm.
of doing this. And I had a frightening experience a year ago. Coming home from Wisconsin basketball, an 8 o'clock game, and it had turned foggy, and I mean, I couldn't see a damn thing. My heart was in my throat for the last 2-3 miles of my trip as soon as I got off County Highway A. And I came through the village because I knew it was, so.
No, I think I agree with you. And I think we should definitely evaluate that for each road project that we're doing. And you're right, I don't think the cost is very much at all. I don't,
Let's find out.
I don't know. for
Yeah,
sure.
so
But
add to there, 'cause it's,
yeah, but I have a
Very
certain
well be
hatred for
addressed.
Sun Valley Parkway at night when it's rainy, foggy and deer.
That's another.
Because there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go on this.
that's right, you can't find the end.
And you don't know what that is yet. And it's probably asphalted over and like kind of rough anyway. But I think that's very important. I think the safety projects are extremely important. And the right of way site blockage too.
Yeah.
Huge. Anything else for that item? Because I think we're almost to the end here. No? Any other comments or questions in general? All right, hearing none, then without objection, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay safe. See you guys.
It's,
Good luck, Steve.
for what it's, no, for what it's worth, there's going to be a winter celebration. I'm going to be putting this up on the bulletin board. I'm going to be giving a copy to Jennifer